The grand glass tower of Sterling Enterprises glittered against the late evening sky, its polished windows reflecting the fading sunset like shards of fire. Inside, the corridors were hushed. The staff had gone home, leaving the building's heartbeat to the faint hum of machines and the occasional echo of footsteps. At the very top floor, behind doors of frosted glass etched with her name, sat Clara Sterling, the youngest female CEO in the company's century-long history, and the one everyone feared. She was a name whispered in admiration and in envy. She was power-wrapped in elegance, known for her decisive strategies and unshakable resolve. But tonight, she wasn't the invincible Clara Sterling the world thought she was. Tonight, she sat alone at her oak desk, shoulders heavy, mascara smudged, her face buried in trembling hands. Her empire was crumbling. A deal she had poured 2 years of her life into, one that was supposed to secure jobs for thousands and expand her company globally, had collapsed at the last second. The betrayal cut deeper than any financial loss. Her trusted partners had pulled out, her board had turned cold, and the media had already begun their brutal feast. Headlines tomorrow would paint her as reckless, arrogant, and unfit to lead. She had fought tooth and nail to sit in the chair she occupied. Every decision, every sacrifice, every sleepless night had been for this dream. And now, it felt as though everything was being ripped from her. No one in the company dared approach her. No one spoke to Clara Sterling, not when she was on top, and especially not now, when her armor cracked just enough to reveal she was human. The powerful, the ambitious, the opportunists, they all vanished when she stumbled. The silence around her was suffocating. But then came the faintest sound. A small shuffle. A door that creaked open. Clara looked up, startled, and quickly wiped at her eyes, regaining her mask. It wasn't a board member, it wasn't her assistant, it wasn't even one of the senior managers. It was the janitor, Mr. Rivera, pushing his cart quietly into the office, his movements humble, respectful, as though he were trespassing on sacred ground. He froze when he saw her. Their eyes met for half a second, and in that half second, Clarice Walls screamed at her to dismiss him, to reassert her authority. But her exhaustion was louder. "I'll come back later," Mr. Rivera said softly, bowing his head. Clara wanted to say, "Yes. Leave. Forget you saw me like this." But something in her chest ached at the thought of being left alone again. "No, it's fine," she whispered, her voice unsteady. "Go ahead." Mr. Rivera nodded and quietly began sweeping the floor, his presence unassuming, his silence oddly comforting. Clara turned away, pretending to refocus on the documents scattered across her desk. But her eyes blurred again. A tear slipped down before she could stop it. And that's when it happened. A small figure appeared from behind the janitor's cart, a girl, no more than 7 or 8. She wore a simple dress, her hair tied in 2 messy braids, clutching a worn-out teddy bear under one arm. She must have been waiting in the hallway for her father, but curiosity had led her in. The girl's eyes widened at the sight of the glamorous woman behind the big desk, crying. She didn't hesitate. With the innocence only a child could carry, she walked right up to Clara. Clara stiffened, unsure of what to do. The girl stood on tiptoe, reached across the desk, and with her tiny hand, gently wiped the tear trailing down Clara's cheek. No words. Just that simple, silent gesture. Clara froze. Her throat tightened. She had been surrounded by boardrooms full of men who spoke in numbers and strategies, investors who spoke in demands, and employees who spoke in hushed tones of fear. But no one had spoken to her heart in years. And this child had done it without uttering a single word. For the first time that night, Clara's tears fell freely. She covered her mouth, shaking, and the little girl, sensing her pain, leaned her teddy bear onto the desk in front of Clara as if to say, "Here. He helps me when I'm sad. Maybe he can help you too." Clara let out a broken laugh that turned into a sob. She reached forward, touching the teddy bear with trembling hands. Mr. Rivera, panicked, rushed over. "Maria," he whispered harshly, "sweetheart, don't bother the lady." But Clara raised her hand, stopping him. "No," she whispered hoarsely. She's not bothering me." Maria tilted her head, smiling with the simple brightness of a child who believed kindness was the most natural thing in the world. Clara felt something stir deep inside her. A memory of her own childhood, before the money, before the expectations, before the cold climb to power. A time when comfort was a hug from her mother and not a contract signed in ink. For a long moment, the office was quiet except for the sound of Clara's soft crying and the janitor's heavy silence. Then Clara spoke. "Do you bring her here often?" she asked Mr. Rivera, her voice steadier now. "Only when I can't find someone to watch her," he admitted nervously. "Her mother passed a few years ago. I try not to disturb anyone." Clara looked at him, really looked at him, maybe for the first time. His hands were rough, his uniform worn. A man invisible to the powerful in her building, yet carrying burdens she had never noticed. "You clean up after everyone," she said quietly, "and no one ever asks about you, do they?" Mr. Rivera didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Maria, oblivious to the weight in the room, climbed onto a chair by Clara's desk and began humming softly, swinging her legs. Clara watched her and felt something break open inside her, a realization that she had built walls so high even she couldn't see out of them anymore. And now, a janitor's daughter had found the smallest crack and shone light through it. That night didn't end with a business plan or a grand declaration. It ended with Clara sitting on the floor of her office, her expensive heels kicked off, Maria curled up against her side with the teddy bear between them. Mr. Rivera stood awkwardly nearby, unsure if he was witnessing a miracle or a mistake. But Clara knew something had shifted. For the first time in years, she wasn't the CEO, the millionaire, the headline. She was just a woman, tired and human, and someone who had no reason to, had cared enough to wipe her tears, and that changed everything.